The Giannis trade timeline has accelerated. Why does that impact the Suns, and why are we even talking about Giannis on the Suns in the first place? We're going to go over all of it right after this. What's up, everybody? Welcome on into PHNX Suns, of course, presented by our friends over at Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHNX365 when you sign up and find out why winning is everything over at Bet365. I'm Eric. We've got Steven, Espo, and the Freckled Mamba behind the Mac, making all of the magic happen here on a Thursday, aka Giannis Day. We're going to be talking about quite a bit, some recent news about when Giannis might get traded, and we'll take you back over the last couple of months to discuss why we are even talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo on the Phoenix Suns. But first things first, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. Shout out to everybody already in chat. Hello, Leo. Hello, Cam. Hello, everybody here on a Thursday. Gentlemen, how are we feeling? Ready for some more Greek freak talk today?
I like Greek food. I like
Greek food's pretty good.
I've always wanted to travel to Greece. Those are all good things when it comes to the Greeks. And we know John Stamos. Can't forget John Stamos. And Giannis is pretty damn good too.
I would just go and gladly say that Giannis is the most pertinent of the names that you mentioned.
I don't know, man. John Stamos could hoop.
Was he Giannis?
John Stamos at the point?
Was he Giannis, though?
John Stamos' hair. It's
was
next
he
level.
Giannis, though?
Well, look, he's not Giannis.
At his time, yes.
And I'll tell you what, the Suns are not going to be trading for John Stamos anytime soon. I'm sorry to inform you of that, Espo, but I understand that it's a pipe dream. It's a long shot, and I understand there are some people like, why are you even talking about this? Well, we have our reasons, and we're going to lay them out throughout this entire show, but first, let's set the scene a little bit. Bucks owner Jimmy Haslam talked earlier this week about when they are looking to make a Giannis trade happen.
I just think before the draft is a natural time, right? Because you're going to, if Giannis does play somewhere else, then we ought to get a lot of assets, and that's John's job to do it. If he's here, then you build the team differently. So, and I think that's also necessary. I just want to stress, though, that our relationship with him, despite what is reported by certain ESPN writers, is very positive.
Is this a decision that keeps you up at night?
It's a big one. It's a big one, and you got to get it right. And John knows it, and Wes knows it. And we didn't hold back with Taylor. We just said, listen, he may or may not be with us, so don't come because of that, because you want to be straight up with people.
So, Steven, a lot to unpack in that soundbite from Haslam. Not only did he say that they want to get a trade done before the draft, but they also said they have a good relationship with Giannis, unlike what some ESPN reporters say. And at the very end there, he said whether he may or may not be with us. What's your takeaway from what Haslam had to say at the Taylor Jenkins introductory press conference?
I mean, you can have a great relationship with a guy, and he could also still have perspectives that do not include you all. If he didn't meet with your head coach prior to him actually, walking across the stage and ingratiating himself with Milwaukee media, I feel like that says at least a little bit. You didn't have your franchise player outside of like Oscar Robinson, the best player your franchise has seen, like he wasn't involved in this process at all. And you're just going to pretend as if it's not something. And you can't just dole it off as ESPN writers. What they wrote was true. You didn't deny that what they said was true. So, like, the semantics and everything is cool or whatever, but that sounds like a guy that's not involved literally but also mentally with what the franchise has going on, unless it has to do with getting him to where he wants to go next.
You're going to do Lou Alcindor like that? Kareem doesn't
No
get his love
disrespect to
either?
Kareem. No disrespect to Kareem.
Look, we're open for business.
Yeah.
We're going to shout it at the top of our lungs, and may the best bidder win. And if we don't get what we want, well, we'll have to cross that bridge when it comes to it and have discussions with Giannis. It's pretty obvious that they've done this dance for multiple years now, that Giannis is probably coming to the end of his rope when it comes to dealing with it. The one factor in it is they are the team that can pay him the most if he stays.
Yeah.
The Supermax is the one lever that they have to go, well, if you stay here, we can give you X amount more. But guess what? At some point, you've made so much money that X amount more, if your happiness is on the line there, won't matter. That money ain't going to change your life in a significant way when you have that much, and it's not going to change whether you're happy or not. And that's the reality of it. I think for Giannis is that's probably what they're going to use as leverage is, hey, we can give you more money, and he's got to then say, if I'm not happy, is that going to change it? And the answer is no.
Yeah, well, the thing with Giannis is that he's been very clear that he wants to win another championship, right? I mean, he won one in Milwaukee. We obviously all remember that. We'll get to a little bit more context into why that's important with this specific situation here in a second. But the reason why there's been a disconnect between him and the Bucks is because he does not believe in the direction that the franchise is going. He doesn't believe in the decisions that they've made, right? And I think that stems back the last couple of years, but even recently before last season, cutting Damian Lillard, obviously that was kind of a big swing they did for Giannis, and the Bucks have done a lot for Giannis. They've given him a ton, but he just doesn't seem to think that going forward, this is the right place for him. And you mentioned the contract. The reason why the trading before the draft is very important is because that happens before Giannis is even eligible to negotiate. Obviously, we know tampering exists, but a new contract. And what that gives is Giannis leverage, because now Giannis, again, the same reason that we went through with Kevin Durant this last offseason, where it was like Kevin Durant can more or less choose where he wants to go. It is because he can say, I'm not signing an extension with you. I'm not signing an extension with you. So why are you trading for them? So in a sense, doing this before the draft, doing this before he's extension eligible, accelerates the timeline to a point that kind of does give Giannis a little bit more leverage in this situation.
To an extent, because look, teams will take a chance on 1 year of Giannis, even if he won't sign an extension. Now, because teams will be desperate enough. Now, Kevin Durant was further into his 30s, was further down that line. Some would say not as at the level that Giannis is currently, if healthy. And I think that's why it's a little less leverage for Giannis than it was for KD. There will be some team that falls in love with the idea of Giannis, even if the price is high, even without a guarantee that he will re-sign. Now, he'll push his weight around, and there may be teams that walk away from it, but I think there'll be at least one or two that go, we'll take that chance for Giannis and see how it plays out. And those may be teams with more assets than others can offer.
Yeah, I think that's where things get a little interesting for maybe against the Suns and the Giannis sweepstakes if they are fully involved with it. But I think kind of some of the things that we'll be getting to eventually is some of the youthful talent and assets in the youth pool that the Suns have that they might not necessarily have in draft capital. Might be some of the navigation ways in which they can kind of go about getting into that conversation.
Yeah, and to kind of put a pin on what Haslam said at the Taylor Jenkins introductory press conference, we also have this tweet about Jimmy Haslam from Carly Murata. Carly was also the one who had that video, so thank you, Carly, for that. Says Jimmy Haslam on the Giannis situation, quote, Giannis brought Milwaukee its first championship in 50 years. We will do what is best for Giannis and what is best for the organization. We will work through that with Giannis in the coming weeks. This also means that, Milwaukee's going to be in it for themselves, but to involve Giannis and to specifically put the part of saying Giannis brought us his first championship, it is my understanding just from that he's going to have a lot of say into where he goes. I don't think that Giannis is going to be traded to a franchise that he does not want to go to for a variety of reasons. One, I don't know if a franchise wants a disgruntled Giannis who's not willing to sign a contract extension. And two, there is something to be said about how do you treat your star players as an organization. This is a guy who's one of your greatest players in franchise history. I believe he's their all-time point scoring leader. He brought them their first championship in 50 years. I know that he's on the way out, but you still have to treat him somewhat well on the way out.
I took that as PR speak, though, and hey, we're gonna involve him, But there comes a point where we represent the Milwaukee Bucks, not Giannis, and that's the line in the sand. We're not going to get screwed by that, and that's the polite way to say it, and the way that you approach it, publicly. Because yes, you don't want to have the optics look like you stuck it to you stuck it to Giannis. Because look at what happened when the info about Kevin Durant being shopped to the Golden State Warriors without his knowledge came out. That was bad optics for the Suns. So I think this is as much a PR play as saying Giannis is going to get to choose where he goes. I think it's, hey, we'll involve him, but at the end of the day, we're the Milwaukee Bucks. We're not the Antetokounmpos, even though we have 3 of them on our roster.
I mean, yeah, for sure, that part especially. But I think that's what they should say. I think in any type of negotiations or things that maybe might be next to kin to negotiations like this, you got to be shrewd. You got to look out for yourself. And Giannis, by my perspective, has been looking out more for the franchise's best interest than his own. Because if he went and looked out for his own interest, he probably would have been gone the season that Dame came in, meaning that Dame never would have ended up coming to Milwaukee because Giannis was going elsewhere. Feels like he gave them an extra heartbeat or two that they probably shouldn't have been conceded just based off of the way things unraveled after the 2021 championship that they won against the Suns. So he gave them extra lives like cats, and now it's time for him to get back to doing what he feels like is best for him.
Yeah, I feel like it's that relationship where it's coming to an end, but you've been together so long that maybe you give it an extra 6 months, a year, because you're like, we'll try it. And one person maybe is trying a little harder than the other. Like, I'll do this. I'll get you friggin' Miles Turner, and I'll get you Dame. And it's a little bit out of desperation to try to save the relationship where both sides, I think, know it's pretty much running.
You couldn't plug holes on Titanic. That thing was going down.
Well, and here's the thing, kind of to your point, Espo, Heatcheck says, so if the Kings offered the right package, the Bucks would send Giannis to the Kings? I don't think so.
No.
I think it's going to be like Giannis gives them a list of teams. He's like, I will go to these 3 teams, these 4 teams, these 5 teams. And now it is up to you to negotiate what is the best for you. I prefer Phoenix or Miami, but I'll give you these 5. I will sign a contract extension with these 5, and we can go from there. I do not think it will be open business for Giannis.
I think it might be more open than here's my 5 teams. Like if, say he doesn't want to go to San Antonio, but San Antonio offers, I don't think you have as much pause about sending him to a quality organization as you would to sending him Siberia with the Sacramento Kings. Or sending him somewhere like that, a team that it just trips over itself constantly. I think that's where you're doing something completely against the best interest of the individual out of almost spite. Like you're not sending him to the Washington Wizards unless for some god-awful reason that's on his list.
Anthony Davis.
But when you look at it, I think that you might consider somebody not on his list if it's a quality organization. Because that does not feel as much of a slight as it was. And then it's going to be on that team to decide, are we willing to take the chance without the contract?
But you do have to tread lightly with that because there are consequences and repercussions for not operating in tandem with a guy of his quality, of his cloth. Teams or players will not pick to do business with you going forward if you don't operate off of those stipulations.
I would argue it's Milwaukee. Teams players, at least top-notch talent, is not going to decide to do there. That's why this is such an important trade for Milwaukee, because whatever they get back is probably a big part of what they're going to have to ride with for a while, because nobody, having lived in Milwaukee, nobody is choosing to live in Milwaukee during NBA season if they're not being forced to based on the rules of the league, I think. And they've been very lucky that Giannis got drafted there, that they were smart and shrewd with that pick, and that he's been very loyal. But
and no disrespect to my family in Milwaukee.
Hey,
if anybody happens to be watching or came across this, hey family, he
that
didn't mean that. He didn't mean that.
It's 85
that
today.
was more weather. Here. That was more weather related in NBA season.
So the thing with all of this is that I think they do have to work together, and we'll get a little bit more from Bobby Marks later about the leverage that Giannis has in this situation, but Heatcheck keeps on bringing great questions, says, what if Giannis says, I want Phoenix and only Phoenix? Well, I don't know if that's going to happen, but there has been a lot of smoke between the two parties, the Phoenix Suns and Giannis Antetokounmpo. But where is the fire? We're going to shed some light on it on the other side of our first break. The NBA playoffs are here, and one of my favorite things to do during the playoffs are these nice little two-leg parlays over at Bet365, and what I do is I just go into my favorite game of the night. Tonight it is Thunder-Lakers, because I'm looking forward to another Lakers-L, and I just pick two things that I think will happen. A lot more stress-free than our betting competition, and if you want to bet stress-free as well, you can do that with our friends over at Bet365. That's because right now, new users get $200 in bonus bets thanks to their Bet10 Get $200 promo. All you have to do is sign up, make a $10 bet, and they're just going to throw you $200 in bonus bets. That's right. It's more fun being in the playoffs, watching the playoffs when you're hanging out with our friends over at Bet365. Download the app, use code PHNX365 to get that Bet10 Get $200 promo. Bet365, where winning is everything. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Arizona. Terms and conditions apply. In-app only.
I got to tell you about our friends at Arizona Lottery. I'm a big fan of their scratchers, and the multiplier scratchers are the perfect way to add to your life. You use a little extra money, right?
Always.
Well, you know, with these scratchers, they're so much fun that, you know, you get to do that and have fun while you're at it. With multiplier scratchers from the Arizona Lottery, you could multiply the good things in life, like vacation, relaxation, celebration, and you know what? Why wouldn't you?
And money. You can multiply the money.
I mean, you know, the money helps you get to the vacation, the relaxation, and the celebration. Because
sense.
with over $270 million in prizes, you could win big and do more of the things that you love. Multiplier tickets start at just $1 and have prizes up to $5 million. So why not grab some today? With access to over 3,500 retailers across the state, you can play wherever and whenever you'd like.
Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Thank you all for hanging out with us in slop season. Welcome to the trough here on PHNX Suns. We appreciate you being here. But why? Why the Suns? And why Giannis? Well, there have been some breadcrumbs that have been led along a trail, so let's follow the breadcrumbs. Most recently with this Instagram post, which, let's be honest here, is nothing. However, players
it's 100%
players are definitely intentional with things. Is it because I believe the Phoenix is the national bird of Greece? Maybe. Or maybe it's because he wants to be a Sun. Giannis said in an Instagram post, year 13 has been one of the toughest seasons of my career, but as they say, like a phoenix from the ashes, I'll rise. Okay, so that's nothing, right? But it's something.
No. Can't go that quick, man.
Yeah.
You're saying
Everton, get ready to hit that bell a couple of times. So we talked about alignment
season.
all season long,
Hey.
right? We talked about the way that things kind of just set themselves up and how sometimes the universe just aligns things for things to happen a certain type of way, right? We can't spend all that time all season long hearing the front office execs and then other players and parts of the franchise saying and using that big A word all season long.
The
They got that big A.
We can't go that route and then not bring it back full circle and saying, yes, okay, maybe that is the bird or for Greece. Cool.
I don't even know. I gotta look it up.
If it's not that,
Hold on, you just
So
made that
I
up.
saw a tweet. I want to say.
well, double check that real quick. Let's double check.
Let's
and
have
make
some
sure.
facts.
No, let's have some fun with this. Let's have some fun with it.
So yeah, it is the little owl.
Anyways,
Somebody tweeted it.
my point still remains the same. He could have chosen how many other different things to use
Yeah.
in that particular caption. We don't think that Giannis is just saying, oh, yeah, I think I'll
It's
just
a
use a phoenix.
Significant cultural symbol in Greece.
Okay.
However, it can't be the official. It's not a real
So,
bird.
my point-
Can't be the official bird.
My point being that I'm trying to make while we're having some fun with it, but bringing it back full circle, multiple other different things and ways in which he could have got his point across and using Phoenix. That's not by happenstance. That's not by accident. I'm not saying that the Suns are his number one option. I imagine there's something that had to do with him liking Phoenix involved with him using it in
And
the caption.
come on, Occam's razors, boys. You know.
Yeah,
Occam's
the most
razor?
the simplest answer is usually the right one.
I don't think that I'm not 100% sure he wrote this because
he
they
totally
have teams of social
Not
people
him.
that work for a lot.
Not him.
Have you ever?
That dude's the Greek freak for a reason.
Have you ever just decided to throw Milwaukee into a conversation that you're having without
He
intent?
just did. Earlier in the show.
I lived there.
Without great intent is my point.
I will say, I
because
would
I've
not
never-
expect Steven to be the guy who's doing this, which I love. I love this. I love this.
I'm just throwing it out there.
I actually have because of the great quote from the movie. God, I'm blanking right now. Wayne's World, where it was said that it was pronounced Milwaukee by the Algonquins. It means the great land. Yes, I have used Milwaukee casually in a conversation.
How about PHNX? Because it's not just the Instagram post, which I appreciate you saying that, Steven, because I think Giannis is a pretty intentional guy. All-Star Weekend this past year was very eventful for Giannis Antetokounmpo and Phoenix Suns. First off, how about a little shoot-around with their star player, Devin Booker?
Make everything look cool, man. I appreciate that. He wear a different jersey. If you wear the same jersey with me, I'm like Isaiah Stewart. I ain't go out far for you. Oh, man.
I mean, first of all, they're buddy, they're chummy, they're laughing, but he goes up and says, "You make everything look so cool, man." And then he's like, "If we wore the same jersey, I would fight for you."
Him having a teammate that has a check on his shoes instead of stripes would be something that would be very intriguing to see. We just got done seeing the striped brand do a lot of stuff with the players that they have in this second round of the NBA playoffs. I imagine the check company would love to have something like that to play to their own extent.
Yeah. You ever think that maybe the check company set that up so that the two of their cool athletes?
And do you think
were
that the check
talking
company
together?
would be
You
like,
think the stripe company played a part in getting a couple of their players on the same team and whatnot too? There's a lot of chess being played above our heads.
well, and that's the thing, right? Yeah, you're talking about Cleveland, I'm assuming, with James Harden and Donovan Mitchell both being Adidas athletes, right? And like they said, again, a heat check is on a heat check. They're on a heater. It says, "Oh, this was intentional." It was on camera. Right? Like, I'm sure that they talk to other guys, and I'm sure that Giannis, and the type of guy that he is very complimentary to other NBA stars, but, like, there's literally a camera on them, and this is, I believe, from Book's All-Star vlog, and he goes up to Book, and he says, "If we wore the same jersey, I'd fight for you." Again, does that mean that he's going to push his way to Phoenix? No, but it does show that him and Book do have a mutual reverence for each other, and I'm sure that he would like to play with Devin Booker.
He did mention Isaiah Stewart, though. So does that mean that Detroit is in consideration, or is Beef Stew coming along with him to Phoenix? Like, if we're gonna play the game, let's play the game.
No, I think he knew how to get his point across. letting it be known.
Espo, clearly you're doubting here. So what if I told you there was another breadcrumb from All-Star Weekend, this time between Giannis Antetokounmpo, of course, and the Phoenix Suns governor, Matt Ishbia?
Going into next year, so I'm real proud of everyone.
You got all the calls, man. You got all the calls. Come on, man.
I needed a couple of them.
Okay, Giannis was the coach of the other team, correct?
Coincidence? I think not.
Like, come on.
Well, look. I'm not saying any of these things are the reason why Giannis is going to come here. But what I am saying is that if you are a superstar, and we've seen it now for the last 5+ years, basically since Chris Paul, stars do, for some reason, and we know the reasons, want to play in Phoenix alongside Devin Booker.
Devin Booker
right?
is the reason.
And so Devin Booker is a big reason. But I also think the reason why we included Matt Ishbia here in all of this as well is that the reason why Giannis is leaving Milwaukee is because him and ownership seem to be butting heads, and the front office seem to be butting heads about the direction of the franchise. Giannis wants to win today, tomorrow, and the next day. That's what he wants. He wants to go to a franchise that's all about winning. A franchise with a coaching situation that's stable. You think about the last couple of years in Milwaukee, it's been anything but that, right? You think about a franchise that is, buck that. You think about a franchise that, yes, is in good weather, but now we talk about alignment and stability, right? The GM's going to be there for a long time. The owner's going to be there for a long time. The coach is presumably going to be there for a long time. And Devin Booker's going to be there for a long time. The post-championship reign for Giannis in Milwaukee has been nothing but inconsistent on and off the court. So there are reasons why Phoenix would be a destination, because as they were classified by Brett Siegel, they're also a win-now team whether they like it or not, because they don't have their picks. So I think there are reasons why these breadcrumbs are laid out there and why Suns fans have gravitated towards, okay, we will be a destination for Giannis, even though nothing reported has come out about that yet.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously likes Devin Booker, and we know that a lot of guys like Devin Booker. I mean, hell, LeBron has tweeted about Devin Booker for almost a decade now and called him one of the most underrated players in the NBA.
Hey, we're doing a LeBron episode at some point.
Look, there are a huge amount of big names in the NBA that would love to play with Devin Booker. There's no doubt about that. And I'm sure Giannis loves what he sees from Devin Booker. I understand that you can draw a line from a lot of this stuff, you go, the alignment works and all this, but we'll get into why I don't think, and it's not because I don't think there'd be interest. I just think there's other reasons that would prohibit it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to having another layer of this conversation on the other side of this upcoming break.
Well, then let's go ahead and take this up.
Stephen, you know all about how it can be a little scary to start something new. You joined us last year to start this new journey, and it was the right one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good answer.
It was scary too, though.
Before this show ever existed, I remember thinking, what if nobody listens? And then, I did it, and then I said, well, nobody's listening, but what happens if I keep doing it? And what if this completely flops? But sometimes you've got to just take that leap, which we did. And, it definitely helps when you've got the right tools behind you like Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses worldwide. About 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. runs through Shopify, including our store, and they're beautiful online stores with hundreds of ready-to-go templates. Shopify has built-in AI tools as well to help you write product descriptions, headlines, and more. So if it's time to turn your what-ifs into cha-ching. Shopify's new with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/allcity. That's shopify.com/allcity. That's shopify.com/allcity.
1AZ Credit Union is rooted in Arizona and invested in you, and their mission is to help Arizonans live their best financial lives, whether that means buying a new car, starting a business, or planning for what's next, whatever that is. 1AZ is a part of the community, and they're proud to be celebrating 75 years of dedicated service to Arizona. And just like you want your Suns coverage, you want your credit union to be local and to understand the state and understand the community. And with 25 branches here in Arizona and an online banking app, you can access your money easier. 1AZ branches are your one-stop shop for all your financial needs, whether you need one-on-one financial coaching or just a document notarized. Their friendly associates are ready to help you at branches across the state. And for a limited time, open a new checking account and complete qualifying activities to earn $350 new member bonus. All you have to do is use code CHK-358. That's code CHK-358. Terms and conditions apply. Visit 1AZCU.com for all the details. Call me a pig because I love the slop, and we're getting into it here on PHNX Suns. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button as well. Steven.
Piggy over here.
Intro yourself as the pig on next episode.
Steven.
Yeah.
We're talking about breadcrumbs. We're talking about Giannis. We're talking about the Suns, the link between the two. And we've talked about how Phoenix is a destination. And Phoenix, before Matt Ishbia and with Matt Ishbia, has been a franchise that has sought after and taken advantage of available stars. I'm going to give you the floor. Why do you think that's important?
I think it's relevant and important because you look at what's going on the other side of basketball for Matt Ishbia with the Mercury. Find a way to get Kalia Copper. Kalia Copper is your franchise player. And somewhere down the line, after things go a different direction with a different iteration, there's a little bit of gray area between, and an opportunity presents itself to go and get an all-time great on the women's side in Alyssa Thomas. Isn't in the best situation with her current franchise, has been there for quite some time, decides to take her talents elsewhere. That ends up happening. Mercury go to the finals last season. Now, for the Suns, it is a little bit different with Giannis because Giannis obviously has been to the finals and won himself. But what I'm getting at is, in the middle of all of that, you also go and find yourself a head coach that's not a retread, a head coach that doesn't have head coaching experience, and also somebody that has some progressive thoughts and perspectives on how to go about coaching and doing the job with said chess pieces in play. There are some very eerie parallels that I don't feel like are coincidences between those two. Giannis, very similar to Alyssa Thomas, has won at some of the highest stages, but hasn't always had the best roster around their all-time great rim pressure and defensive talents. Bringing them to Phoenix, Alyssa Thomas has a career-best season in most respects. I imagine Giannis would see a lot of very similar trends that he maybe didn't see go to the extent that he did in Milwaukee if he was here in Phoenix, playing next to Devin Booker.
Can I extend this one step further? Matt Ishbia brings in Alyssa Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
Family matters, right? He brings in
Family
DeWanna
matters.
Bonner, who she's married to. You bring in Giannis, you bring in his brothers because, you know,
It's a reunion.
we care about family. So
It's a
there you
reunion.
go.
Yeah. And here's the thing. We talked about the roster spots for the brothers and everything. Like, at the end of the day, if that's the price that you're not willing to pay with Giannis, then I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have to pay that
Hey,
price.
Exactly.
you want a two-way contract? You want that 15th spot? You got it.
Yeah, they say we got the Valley Suns right down the street, bro.
You play all you want.
Well, look, and maybe Giannis does look at Phoenix, and I'm sure there are other places. Obviously, Miami has been linked to Giannis a ton. The Knicks have been linked to Giannis a ton, and it is important what he wants. Maybe it's not the end-all, be-all, but I do think that it's going to sway a lot of things. It's also really important what the Bucks want, and that's where things kind of meet at a head here, because the Bucks are going to want to extract the most value out of Giannis, and that is their right to do so as a franchise. Again, parallels to Kevin Durant last offseason. That's what we were saying. Screw where Kevin Durant wants to go. You want to get the most out of him. Unfortunately, that's not how it went. Kevin Durant put his foot down, said, I'm not getting traded to Minnesota. I want to go to Houston, and it ended up going to Houston. The Suns got the most value they can get back. Just because a star says, I'll only go here, doesn't mean you won't get value back, but it does mean that they are more in control of what they want to do, and that is something that Bobby Marks talked about earlier this week.
A resolution soon. What do you think the market? Do you think it's going to be more robust or fewer teams? What do you think it'll be?
I would say I would be surprised if Milwaukee gets more than what Brooklyn got and what Memphis got from Mikal Bridges and Desmond Bane in picks. Players could be certainly different here. I think Giannis controls what the market will be. Like listen, he's got to be the bad guy here. No offense, he's got to be the bad guy here, where he says, "Hey, these are the two teams I'm going to go with. These are the teams I want to go to trade it to, and these are the two teams I'm going to sign an extension with." Like that basically can kind of control, the market a little bit here. I know it didn't work that well with Damian Lillard. I guess it was 3 or 4 years ago with him wanting to go play in Miami, but I think that's the big thing. I think certainly what happens on Sunday, which is the lottery, plays a big role in that as far as who's picking where. In the draft, some of these teams have rosters that are somewhat built now. When you look at Atlanta, that could have a top pick. When you have Dallas with Masai taking over, with Cooper coming back, they're at 8 right now. But I really do think it's, besides the contractually, it's the market. And then for Milwaukee, this is a team that doesn't control their first round pick until I think 2031. So there's not an incentive, even with these new rules that are coming to basically bottom out here. So you're looking at a little bit of, draft picks and kind of win now players.
That was Bobby Marks on Tobin and Leroy on WQAM 104.3 Sports. So appreciate them for putting this out there in the ether. It might be up for Giannis to say that he's the bad guy. But again, Bobby Marks reiterating what he thinks Giannis will go for, which is still kind of a reach from what the Suns have to offer.
Well, he brought up, we talk about being loyal and sending the guy where he wants and leverage, all those things. He brings up Dame getting sent to the Bucks. Mm-hmm. Not a guy that has a franchise that was more loyal to him throughout his time there than Portland and Dame. He wanted to go to Miami. They sent him to Milwaukee because it was a better deal for them. Now the contract stuff's a little bit different, obviously, but that is a reminder of just because a guy wants to go somewhere, because a franchise respects him because of what he's done, doesn't mean he always gets what he wants. But yeah, they're going to want draft picks. Why do you think that they said in that first clip we watched earlier in the show that they want this decided on before the draft? Because they want capital in this year's draft. Guess what you don't have? Capital in this year's draft. Yeah. You got the 47th pick. Yeah. Now, you could have a subsequent trade. Sure, maybe you get a first rounder for Grayson. You can turn that into that's all possible. That is true. But right now you got 2 first round picks available that are one's a pick swap, so it's not, you have no real control over that. The other one's 2031, I believe, for the Suns. So, yeah, win now players, you've got some guys that you might be able to send back as well in that case. But this is where the problem comes in, right? You don't have the assets, so it's interesting.
Well, and Heat Check, again, on fire, says, yeah, but they sent Dame to Milwaukee to contend for a chip with Giannis, and we know that Dame wasn't the most happy there. It didn't work out well, right? And then eventually Dame goes back to Portland. Plus, I'm not trying to disrespect Dame, one of the best shooters of all time, one of the best players of all time. He didn't win Portland a championship. He's not as good of a player as Giannis. Like, these are just truths, which means I think Giannis has even more leverage than what Dame had for being loyal.
Don't tell me, though, that Portland sent him to Milwaukee to win a Portland sent him to Milwaukee because they liked that deal better than what Miami was offering.
Yeah, but they're not. But the thing is, they're not going to send Giannis to like a dump.
No,
right?
I mean that's true. And even though and I'm not saying that Portland sent him to a dump, they sent him somewhere. Like I said, an organization that they thought was respectable enough that it didn't look bad. And I think that's what I think here is you're not sending him to Sacramento, but you're not going to just hand him. Like if he says Suns and Suns only, I don't think that means that he's going to be here necessarily. People bring up the KD side of it and say, well, KD did that. Yeah, and the Suns had 4 first-round picks that they could trade, some swaps, 2 young guys that everybody thought had potential to be more than what they were. Like it's a lot that they had to offer in that situation. It wasn't just KD, forced his way. It was the Suns had something to offer that was worthy of it too.
Yeah, that part matters as well. But I'm curious. What would be the lengths or extents you all would go to bring Giannis in?
Anything and everything. If he wanted, I'd be hesitant because, look, I've been hurt. We all know how we feel about the KD move. We saw leveraging your future and everything that you have available and what that can do, and it went wrong. Like that it would be the concern, but in the end, yeah, if Milwaukee will accept what you have, 2 first-round picks, Grayson, Royce, Jalen Green, and one of the young guys, yeah, of course I'm going to do it because you're getting a chance at a championship. But I'm going to be nervous. I'm going to feel that is this KD 2.0? Like that's the reality of it. And I just don't know what what I just listed off if that's enough to get you there even.
Jalen, Grayson, Malawach, and Rasheer works money-wise for Giannis.
And then you're going to have to include those 2 first-round draft
Yeah.
picks.
I mean, and that's the thing, too, is like, do they value a Ryan Dunn? Do they value an Oso Ighodaro? Talking about the Bucks specifically. I get to the point where it comes to Kaman, where it's like, of course, if Giannis is saying he wants to come here, like, you just do it because your franchise player is about to be 30 and you have no other draft picks. Like, you're in win-now mode, whether you're in win-now mode or not. It is a tough pill to swallow losing Kaman or Rasheer, but I understand when people hear that, people are like, why would you say no to trading for Giannis for 2 rookies who haven't proven themselves yet? Like, there is a chance that Kaman Malawach doesn't work out. There is a chance that Rasheer Fleming doesn't work out. Now, I don't believe that that's how things are going to go, but if you're giving up on Jalen Green after one injury-riddled year and who he's been 5 years into his career, Grayson Allen or Royce O'Neal, I think either of those 2 would work, and then Malawach and Fleming or one of those guys, the 2 other sophomores, and then a pick, like, you're just probably going to have to do it. I mean, it's Giannis. Like, it is one of the greatest players of all time who's saying he wants to go there, and if he only wants to do business with you, you've got to give up something in return.
Yeah, Ayrton, we can pull up Corey's comment. Corey made a great point earlier today saying that no one in their right mind is saying no to Giannis. I don't care what anyone says, exclamation mark. Generational talent that you won't see again like this. And I think that matters because if a guy is choosing you or giving you a chance at bringing his talent in, you are obligated, whether you say it publicly or not, to get the absolute most out of Devin Booker on this contract that you extended him to at the end of last season. After all of the nonsense and everything else that happened, leaving a lot to be desired last season, you came out of the rubbish of that offseason, extended him a contract. You are obligated to get the most out of that guy while he's under contract with you until whatever year that contract ends. Was it 2030, 2031 when he got extended to?
30.
you have that much of a window at this present moment while he's still at the peakest or at close to the peakest of his powers. One of the best ways you're going to get the most out of him, yes, you want to shore up the margins with players. Yes, you want to bring in a head coach. You've done those two things. Now you need to try to find ways to get your shop opportunities at a top-end talent like that to pair with him so that they can go and do what it is they're trying to do.
I just Corey's been on fire. Great
He's been on
comments
fire
today.
too, yeah.
But when I see that quote or that comment that you just had put up there, I'm pretty sure I said the same exact thing about
But
a
the
KD
thing,
trade.
and that's the thing.
And I know they're
forgot.
different
I got you,
people.
yeah,
I know
for sure.
I know
For
you're
sure.
different people, but when
sure.
you say, "Oh, it's a once in a life," this would be twice in a 5-year period that it happened.
Roberto with a 199 super chat says, "I'm getting deja vu. I feel like I've been here."
But see, that's the other thing too. I think when you're hurt, you're hurt. I will start there, and I will acknowledge that from everybody that has that particular perspective. Yes. However, I don't think it's just the Kevin Durant trade that people are hurt from. I think it's the next move that was made for Bradley Beal. Because it happened in such rapid succession, they kind of get lumped into one. Those are two very separate things that were done on different parameters. If that latter move was not made, you feel a lot less bad about the Durant move because you have other pieces that you can either go to compete with that following season, or you can go different directions, not the Bradley Beal route, no disrespect to Brad. Maybe you turn those into high-level role players to go around the nucleus of what it is you're building around, and you do whatever you need to do with Aiden in addition to that. Yeah. Things might look a lot different if you didn't lean into the big three construct.
Agree wholeheartedly. I think the other thing, though, is you put in Giannis's injuries lately, too. And then I start to feel like, is it those two deals combined? Am I getting... am I giving up everything I gave up for KD? Am I getting health that we had concerns with in the Beal deal? Yes, I'm hurt. I'm very hurt, and I'm fragile as a Suns fan, and that's where a lot of it comes from. Let's be honest. It's psychosis, a lot of it. It's not logic, because if Giannis at 100% alongside Devin Booker, you are now in the discussion to be an NBA Finals team in the West.
Yeah.
But I've also been there before.
No, but that's why I said the same thing with you. And I was a huge advocate of the Kevin Durant trade even before it happened. And we're talking about deja vu. I remember when the KD stuff started happening, my former boss was a Nets fan. And I was joking with him. I'm like, KD's coming to the Suns. Just watch. I'm like, where there's smoke, there's fire. He loves Book. And he was like, you're an idiot, more or less. You know, most of my bosses say that.
Don't look at me like that.
No, but like and it's like, oh no, there's no way that would happen. Phoenix wouldn't have this, Phoenix wouldn't have that. And then it ended up happening, right? The another difference between the KD situation and this situation right now is that you're not giving up the KD package this time around. If you heard what Bobby Marks said you're looking at a Bridges to New York package, or you're looking at Desmond Bane to Orlando, which was still
Those
a big
4 first-rounders.
Bane was, I think, 3.
But
But when you talk about what the Suns gave up for Kevin Durant, like if we're just like, okay, we're giving up on Jalen, Rasheer, and Kaban, and giving up is kind of a harsh word because you're trading them for Giannis, which means they're worth something. But Mikal and Cam were a part of a finals team and were homegrown talent in that sense that you had for multiple years. Jay Crowder was also a starter on a finals team that had to be put in there. Plus, you had all of your first-round picks and all of your pick swaps. Now, you physically do not have the capabilities of trading the amount that you gave up for Kevin Durant, and you're also being run by a front office now that has a couple of years under their belt, an owner that has a couple of years under their belt. When they traded for Kevin Durant, they were not equipped to maximize that move. I've said over and over again that I would still do the Kevin Durant trade with everything that's happened, because I do believe that if the Suns operated better on the margins, which was an absolute strength that they had this year, that team could have been competitive. I don't know if they could have won a championship, but they could have been a lot more competitive than what they were. So you can learn from those mistakes that you made. And I think if the Suns get to the point, which is super far away, and I would still say very unlikely, that a Giannis trade goes through and he's coming to the Valley, they have experience going through this. They know what they did to mess it up. They saw it firsthand, so hopefully they could take that and learn from it and execute better between Book and Giannis, which I also think is a better fit on the court than KD and Book because they operate in two completely different ways.
Good to see you, Ron. I just want to let's cut to the heart of the matter. All right, let's just cut to the heart of the matter. If you trade for Giannis and say it's what we talked about, it's the young guys, it's Jalen Green, it's either Royce or Grayson or both, whatever, and the draft picks. Mm-hmm. Are you actually a championship contender And can you get it done in what is likely a 3-year window where those guys are still who they've been? Because in the end, that's the question. Can you do it there, or are you better off keeping your assets, your young guys, and trying to figure it out in this dual pathway that they've been trying to do? Because that's all that matters.
Let me ask you this question, right? Because if we're saying we're giving up Grayson, Jalen, Rasheer, and Kaman, okay, all those guys. Jalen missed 70% of this season, and the Suns were good without him. Grayson missed about 50% of the season, and the Suns were good without him. Rasheer and Kaman didn't play pretty much all season and didn't really play in the playoffs. So my counter proposal is, if you took Giannis and you put him on the Suns this year with this roster around him, Dillon Brooks, Devin Booker, Colin Gillespie, Jordan Goodwin, Mark Williams, which I get it, but like, how good are they? We're talking about this team was almost the 6th seed and the 5th seed this year. That makes them a top 3 seed in the West this year if they just put Giannis on this team, giving up those guys who collectively, I think, probably played 125 games for the Suns this year.
You're not going to have all those guys back, because once you bring in that much money, you're going to wind up. I think you're going to wind up without one of those guys. Like
if you do those 4 guys in the trade, you actually save $4.5 million.
I don't know. You'd have to win on the margins. I think yes. Like if you bring him in, you are in the conversation. But if you don't get it done, you feel like you're back at you've failed and you've leveraged the future and what people thought. You'll be out of by 2030. You're now looking further down the line, 2033, 2035. Like, would this actually get it done in such a stacked Western Conference and in a league that has such top-heavy talent?
Yeah, for me, it's yes. The work will have to be done both with the players on the roster after the deal and starting with Devin Booker and Giannis. But I think that having the approach to the game, there's a shift in the NBA. It's real quiet. It's not going to be one that gets the most TikTok attention in terms of highlights. Teams are quadrupling down on defense. Defense. You look at the teams that will ultimately end up in the finals. By my eye, I imagine that's going to be the Pistons and the Thunder at this present moment. Remains to be seen. They have their work to do. But the teams that defend to the highest level, that have the personnel to sustain at that level, are the ones that get there. The Suns had a top 10 defense this season without a notable all-NBA caliber defender on their roster. Dillon Brooks was really good. He's not going to make it. Jordan Goodwin was really good, probably the Suns' best defender flat out. He's not going to make an all-NBA team. If you give the Suns, a guy like Giannis to go with Dillon Brooks, and then to your point, the margins, they've shown to have a keen eye for the type of pieces to bring in to add to what Jordan Ott needs to be successful, and Devin Booker. I think you bring in someone like Goodwin, you bring in someone back like potentially Gillespie, and you add other guys around all of that, the puzzle pieces will start to make more sense, and I think that's where your route to contending, to your point, is.
And I think it's a scary proposition to trade 4 players for one, and we talk about depth being a big factor for the Suns team, but like Grayson didn't play in the playoffs because he was oft injured. Jalen Green had a really good play-in, didn't have the best playoffs, again against a good Thunder team. You know who would have had a good playoffs? Giannis, and I'm sure of that if he was on the court, which of course is a risk, but you're running that risk with all these guys anyway.
Yeah, but the difference is you were deep enough to overcome having a third, fourth option not out there. If Giannis isn't out there and he's your 1A or 1B, totally different story.
But you're also in that spot where Jalen Green doesn't play, Dillon Brooks doesn't play, then you're also feeling that same way. Every team is a star player injury away from being screwed, right? The Nuggets lose Aaron Gordon for a majority of the season. They're bounced out of the playoffs. That's not the only reason, but it's a big part of it. They have Haywood Highsmith under contract for next year for a vet minimum. Jamari Bouye under contract next year for a vet minimum. I imagine they could possibly get Gillespie back for
the quiet reason why Giannis chooses Phoenix, to be honest.
Jamari Bouye?
To play with Bouye again.
Man, I love that dude. I got to be here.
Hey, Jamari giving more production off of that contract.
He's actually the 4th Antetokounmpo brother.
Quiet.
Well, and then you have Gillespie. You can hopefully bring Jordan Goodwin back. I'm assuming that if you're parting with some of your depth, you feel good about bringing those 2 guys back. So if your starting lineup is Devin Booker, Dillon Brooks, Jordan Goodwin, Giannis, and then I don't know if it's Mark. If Mark's going to be on a big contract, or if you find somebody else to just be a 5 that can maybe shoot a bit, and then Giannis obviously is going to slide down and play a ton of the 5.
Giannis, I don't think you want
a starting
Mark,
type.
you don't
Mark
want
back.
a rim. Yeah, you want some space in there.
Oso's going to still be off the bench. So is Ryan Dunn in this scenario. So you have more defense off the bench guys. That'll be in year 3 of the system. Haywood Highsmith is going to be probably the guy that plays whenever Giannis isn't on the court or when Giannis slides down to the 5. Bouye could be your backup guard. Maybe Kobe Brea ends up finding his way in the rotation. But if you trade Colin Gillespie. And at this point, you also have Royce O'Neal as well, who is a good shooter at this point in his career, will be covered up a lot better defensively if he shares a court with Giannis. So, I could see how if the Suns front office are trying to talk themselves into it, to, put a bow on this and talk themselves into giving up a glut of players for Giannis, I think you look at how good they were this year and say, imagine if we had a top 3 player in the world. Because that's what Giannis is a top 3 currently player in the world. It's Shea, it's Jokic, and it's Giannis. And then Luka coming in fourth.
You do it if you can, and you hope that those 3 years turn into what you're looking for. I want to answer, Heat Check had a comment about Greek Heritage Night and why did Matt Ishbia do that. As somebody that's been behind the scenes and worked with a marketing team at the Suns, I'll tell you this, it's money. That's why, because you know people of Greek heritage want to come to the game. You build a package together on it. You make more money than you would on an individual ticket. That's why you do it, and that's why every NBA city does that stuff.
Every time Nikola Jokic goes and plays a team, it's Serbian night.
Yep.
That just kind of, or Slovenian night for Luka. Final thoughts on Giannis and the Suns. I think we all understand it's a risk. Either way, it's a risk not to do it. It's a risk to do it. We don't even know if they're going to have the opportunity to do it.
If you have the opportunity, and if the Milwaukee Bucks will accept your deal, and if Giannis is going to sign the extension, and if Devin Booker wants it to happen, then yes, you do it. But again, it's a lot of ifs, and if ifs were fifths, we'd all be drunk on this Thursday afternoon.
That's fair. All you need is one if to make something happen,
This is true.
And I think that the Suns have learned, they've atoned for some of the mistakes made in process the first go-around in luring in a superstar. This situation will feel a lot different. Like we talked about last week, Eric, Earth Gang.
That's
Shout
right.
out Wild Great. You don't chase, you attract. And when you attract it and it comes in, it's different than when you're chasing. You have to expend all of your assets to do so. It hits a lot different. So I think this go around would feel different if that was to happen.
Was that if your bar, the if line you used? Or, okay, I like that.
Well, speaking of chasing, these guys are chasing me in our playoff pick'em, and we'll go through our picks for tonight on the other side of our final break.
The husband and wife law team, have you been in a serious accident that's led to injury or, God forbid, wrongful death? Well, the lawyers at the husband and wife law team, Mark and Alexis Breyer, and the whole group over there have you covered. And look, they can't guarantee that you're going to win a trial. Nobody can. And if they do, well, they're lying to you. But there are guarantees and promises that you can have made. And right now, you can cancel your fee agreement at any time for any reason with the husband and wife law team. They guarantee that you'll wind up with as much in your pocket as they do for their fee, and you're going to be able to speak to your lawyer at any time about anything, well, about your case. And I went through this, couldn't talk to my lawyer. It was the most frustrating process I've ever been through. So if you've had a serious injury, call the husband and wife law team first. It's 480 or 602-783-8841. That's 602-783-8841. I know the number. Or visit their website at the link in our show notes and tell them PHNX sent you.
Look, there are plenty of amazing real estate agents in Arizona, but only one's at the top. That is Kim Caballero. Previously, Kim Caballero has been working in the Arizona business realm for over 25 years. Now she's helping Arizona families with both buying and selling homes. With a network of investors, builders, and developers, she'll give you insider insight on property potential, helping you see opportunities others will miss. When you work with Kim, your interests are always her top priority, and you'll never get passed off to another agent. She has proven strategies to help both buyers and sellers secure the best possible terms, and she will never step away from you. She's going to be there every step of the way. And for the month of May, for any PHNX fan who refers someone to Kim that ends up buying or selling their home with her, they're going to receive 2 lower level tickets to a home Cardinals game of their choice this year, a $100 gift certificate to the PHNX store/merchandise, and of course, 1 year premium level membership for PHNX, all just this month. So Kim and her husband have lived in Arizona for over 25 years, and she understands what truly matters when choosing a home. Let Kim put her local expertise to work for you. Call Kim Caballero today at 480-489-5012. That's 480-489-5012, and tell her that PHNX sent you. We're wrapping things up here on PHNX Suns, presented by our friends over at Bet365. I think another fruitful conversation about the Greek Freak. I feel like, it is slop season. We got to dip our toes in the slop, but I feel like we're doing it in a tasteful way.
Are olives fruit? Just a great
Olives?
question.
That's a good question.
We'll ask Giannis in his introductory press conference. Giannis, 2 questions. 1, are you a vacation guy? 2, are olives a fruit?
Is it feta or feta? Because my wife likes to say feta.
No,
and I'm
it's
like,
not
it's feta, damn it.
It's not feta.
So,
It's absolutely feta.
And we're chasing Giannis off already with our questions. John Stamos could become the Suns celebrity fan. Look at that.
I'm not going to read this comment in the chat, but I just want to say, Roberto, great comment. Hilarious comment.
Even better avatar.
Yes, Charles says, no more talk about Giannis after this. Well,
I got terrible news for
terrible
you.
news for you. And there's a reason why we're talking about it today. And yeah, we took you through the breadcrumbs and everything that's happened over the last couple of months, but the timeline for Giannis is accelerated. They want to trade him before the draft. These are things that are coming out. So let's put Giannis in the back seat for now. Say, all right, we're not there yet, Giannis.
2 things real quick. 1, Deborah, yes, Mercury show later on. 2, Charles cooked earlier saying he should have gave an extra season. They should have gave an extra season of CP3 with KD and Devin Booker.
Broken clock is right twice a day, huh? Okay, let's get to our picks for tonight. The NBA playoffs in full swing. Yesterday, I went 2-0, being undefeated, the only one remaining. Steven went 1-1 after missing his pick on the Sixers, taking a win against the Knicks, which did not happen. Espo is 2-2, Gil is 3-1, and Ayrton is 3-1 as well. Let's talk about tonight. Let's start with Thunder Lakers. We're all going with the Thunder. I think my question here is, will any of us go with the Lakers ever?
I have to see how tonight is because, at home, if they show something tonight, maybe, but probably not. I'm hoping for a sweep.
I mean, if Luka actually was to come back, then my temperament would change on the outlook of the series. I just don't think that the Lakers can play to the level they need to for 48 minutes, which is what we are well aware it takes. Not 47 and a half, not 47 3/4, a full 48 if you're going to beat Oklahoma City. I just don't know if they have that in them without Luka, and especially with Austin Reeves still trying to find his way back. Game plan-wise, JJ is doing as much as he can with what he has available defensively. I don't know if Jared Vanderbilt is also going to be available because that was wild. I hope he's okay. But that's one less piece that he has defensively to uphold the things that he needs to do when LeBron and Marcus Smart are not on the court. I just don't know if they
Steven,
have
you didn't see the injury report? Luka's back tonight.
No, he's not.
Tried
it though.
Do we know what the spread is on that game? Because somehow the odds makers always are pretty damn close. Last time they were 15 and a half, and it was an 18.
It looks like
game.
It's another 15 and a half point spread, but
right.
That's again off of one quick Google search. Okay, I see a couple things saying 15 and a half point spread. So, do we think they cover? I don't. I think it's gonna be like a close game. The Lakers are gonna be around for like 3.5 quarters, and then it's gonna be the Thunder strike again. And it's the same thing that happened to the Suns. So I think the Thunder win. We all picked the Thunder win. A little bit of dissension though when it comes to the other game tonight, Detroit and Cleveland. 4 of us going with Detroit. That's me, Steven, Ayrton, and Gil. Espo, bucking the trend, going with the Cavaliers. Is this a you truly believe it pick, or I need to already start making up ground?
I'm just trying to make up ground. I don't know. Like, it's playoff basketball. Detroit's been hit or miss. The last 4 games they've been really good. The first 4 they weren't. Like, I don't know if I have fully bought in that they are a juggernaut again. So I'll take my chances with Cleveland.
They're a juggernaut defensively. I know that. And I think that is a direct kind of contrast to what Cleveland is. Cleveland's a very good defensive team when they want to be. They have a defensive player of the year and another guy that usually is close to that conversation than Jared Allen. But they don't have the it right now for me with their offense.
That's fair.
It feels like Detroit has dictated the terms so far, and they're at home too, so I imagine they play off of that crowd.
Yeah, that being said, though, the last game, Detroit and Cleveland, like, that was one that Cleveland definitely could have won because you didn't get a great game from Evan Mobley. I know plus minus isn't exactly the most trustworthy stat, but he was a -18 team worst on the team there. James Harden, another game where he had more turnovers than field goals. I know there's more context to that, but he was also
that's my reason.
1 of 7 from 3, right? Donovan Mitchell, his first game 1 not scoring 30 in a long time. Like an NBA record.
Run him out of Cleveland. The man sucks.
Accident.
Yeah. So 23 points for him. You had a great game from Max Strus off the bench, but you also played a bunch of dudes as well. I think that they were kind of coming off of a little bit of fatigue, which, again, Detroit played game 7 as well. I think that Cleveland is certainly able to pick up a win in game 2. They also had 19 turnovers in game 1, and this was still a game where they had a good chance of winning until the very, very end when Detroit pulled away a little bit more and ended up taking home a 10-point victory. So as much as I think Detroit will win, and I actually do have Detroit as my team coming out of the East after falling down 3-1 in the first round, I think Cleveland can certainly give them a rock fight tonight, and if you are able to get one heater from either Donovan Mitchell or James Harden, everything looks different. Jared Allen also in that game, 2 points, 1 of 4 from the field in 18 minutes. Front court has to play better to hang with them, and I think that they can.
They can, but will they? I think that's the thing for me, and I think a rock fight is exactly what Detroit wants. Cleveland probably needs it to be higher scoring than game 1 was. I don't know if they can get there in Detroit at least.
For me, Mitchell and Harden is what it comes down to. If those guys can't be offensive forces, it can't impose their will, then Cleveland's going to have a very short stay playing Detroit.
Yeah, and the same thing with defense. And I'm picking Detroit, but just to make the argument here, Duncan Robinson had a really electric game 1, 5 of 8 from 3, 7 of 12 from the field, had 19 points in his 28 minutes. He's had games like that. He's also had games where I believe in game 7, he had a ton of open looks and he just kept missing them. This game was really decided by a lot of margins. And if he has a poor shooting night, that changes a ton for them as well. It's going to be a good game. I think this might be the best series of this second round of the playoffs, especially after what we saw the Spurs do to Minnesota last night as a response to game 1. So I'm really looking forward to this basketball tonight. Before we get out of here, any thoughts on last night's games?
No, I mean, you knew that the Spurs were going to find a way to come back. I knew that I had jinxed the Wolves, and I was all right with that. I don't particularly like the Wolves. So no, overall, you kind of saw what you expected to see last night.
Yeah, Philly, y'all have to play defense. If you're going to do anything in this series, I said it. I picked them because I felt like they could do enough. And if Joel was going to be healthy, obviously that was the biggest thing. But if you're not going to defend, it's not going to be too much to talk about this series. It might end up way quicker than I personally feel like it should be.
I will say they showed.
Go New York.
See, there's multiple different ways you can say it without actually saying it.
They did show fight, though. They did show fight. A lot more fight than in game 1. Obviously, no Joel Embiid, as we all know here. We all learned at different times, but we all knew it eventually. OG Anunoby is day-to-day with a very minor right hamstring strain, so he might be able to play tomorrow. I would probably say he won't because you're up 2-0 in the series. So that is definitely something to monitor as well, see if he gets some rest. And then, who knows, Embiid hasn't been ruled out for the series, but we talked about this when we previewed the series. Like, you never know with Joel Embiid.
Yeah, if this were Devin Booker and the performance was like that, the whole narrative would be, are the 76ers better without Joel Embiid? Well, and that would have led national sports talk.
Anthony Edwards had a pretty bad game last night. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell didn't have the best game 1, and to see how they are talked about versus Devin Booker, I'm not trying to tear them down to what Devin Booker's talked about, but like,
which one of those guys went to the finals?
Oh, geez, which one? Hey, at least 2 of them at least made the Western Conference Finals.
Who's the guy of those 3 that was being talked about as like the most valuable player for Team USA?
Don't remember.
All these MVPs that have actually won,
Can't remember.
I'm not stirring nothing up. I'm just saying
it's just weird.
We as a basketball, whatever you want to call it, tend to just leave that type of context out when we're talking about guys, and that's not the most healthy of discourse to be having.
And I'm fine with them not getting think pieces written about them after a bad game. Again, like Donovan Mitchell scored 30 in game 1s for like the last 9 seasons straight, but it just goes to show,
falling off a cliff?
If Donovan Mitchell or Anthony Edwards were on just the Suns this year against OKC, I would say it'd be a pretty similar problem for them that Devin Booker played. Maybe Ant with his athleticism, but obviously he doesn't have all that right now. One thing about the Devin Booker thing is, you guys seen the clip of him going around against Denver a couple of years ago? And everybody's like, where's this book? That man was being guarded in single coverage by Kentavious Caldwell-Pope past his prime and Christian Brown at the beginning of his career.
And, like 3 of those buckets, nobody is on him from
wide
deep.
open.
Like, it's ridiculous.
The way they defend Book is totally different.
Sean made a comment. Did you see this about the Spurs game that Pop was actually in the film room
I love that.
after game 1?
I imagine
love
he
that
didn't have
too.
nice things to say about that lack of effort that they showed in game 1. And I imagine that's what it looks like when you have a coach that steps in and speaks the way that he can, has that reach.
Also,
very different team in game 2.
Crazy jumping no dip buzzer beater 3 from Devin Vassell. That was nuts. All right, I feel like that's the cue to get out of here, talking about Devin Vassell buzzer beaters. We appreciate everybody hanging out with us for another episode of The Trough, a.k.a. PHNX Slop, a.k.a. PHNX Suns. But it's okay, we're talking about it tastefully, so no big deal. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as well. We appreciate all of you joining us here on Thursday. We'll be back tomorrow to end the week off the right way at 3 p.m., so make sure you follow the show at PHNX_Suns. Of course, you can follow the Freckled Mamba behind the Mac, making all the slop happen at Freckled Mamba. You can follow Steven at Steven PG3. That's Steven with a PH, P as in pig, a.k.a. Slop. You can follow Espo.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
You can follow Espo and Espo catch you on Southwest Bias every single weekday morning. You can follow me, the King of Slop, at ERIKRUBY. We'll be back tomorrow with less slop.
Oh,
we all silly like the mayor.